Welcome, future masters. Let's see what we can do here. Well, check. Knight takes h6 check looks pretty good. Bishop h7 check. King, oh, you want to take my knight, you freak. But is that actually good is a question. Bishop h7, king takes knight forced, queen to g6 check, king to e7 forced. I mean, like rook takes e6 check, king d8 forced. But is it good or is it queen takes? Oh no, queen takes e6 and then queen to e7 is mate. He's toast. Queen g6 check. Goodbye. So as you see, I do it all mentally. You know, sometimes I get lazy and just play the moves because I know I'm going to win this. This out mentally in tournaments. This is how we do it. I mean, I have other older videos where I tell you the 4 things. We analyze check, analyze captures, analyze piece contacts, and analyze board situation. Board situation is I got a mating attack brewing. My piece up, I can afford to lose the piece back, you know, so I saw this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, as you saw it, when I went queen e6, I was originally looking at rook e6, and I go, hey, wait a second, his king goes to d8, and this checkmate if it's queen takes, so I queen takes it. Whatever. So now, a new one. Well, the obvious thing to me is that you see his rook is trapped if I go rook to knight c2. So if I play knight c2, doesn't he have to take that? That would just, well, we must have sacrificed a piece for this attack, so you can't be crazy about it. Actually, better than that is knight to a2. His queen is the only defender of his rook. Well, it may not be better. His rook is under attack. Good question. So, knight a2, he's got rook to c6. If I take his queen, he takes my queen. And then I play pawn takes rook and he cannot take my knight. You lose. Do it in your head. That way you're not surprised by the result. I realize that c takes b defends the knight. It's not a gravy position, but yeah, he can't move his bishop, so I guess I'm winning this solidly. Let's go to the next one. So, right off the top of my head, queen to c7 check is devastating because he cannot play king f6. Queen c7 check, king f6, queen here is checkmate, all right? Just a heads up. Queen h5 doesn't do anything. He's going to go here and he's going to escape. I don't like it. This cuts off escape squares, and you see him sacrificing a piece, you know I'm correct. Checkmate. I would have had that inside of 27, but I was explaining this for my video. So, I mean, I'm not worried about it. I'm just showing you, you know, how this goes. So this is like I said, my gut reaction move was queen c7 check. The reason why is that his retreat squares, he only has, well, technically he's got 4. He's got f6, which we saw as an instantaneous mate. That's illegal, so he only has 3 squares. He's got f8, which again, that's mate, and g8, which again, this is mate. Every retreat square he makes, this is a checkmate, but I didn't look at that until just now. Because, like I said, you see this as a strong move, and inner position just throws pieces away. It doesn't matter. Queen h5 looks good on the surface, but he's got too much running room. You should, when you see this, you should see that hopefully that his tendency, if you're playing black, is to go king e7 and get the heck out of dodge if white plays queen h5 check. So this is an experience thing more so than anything else. You see enough positions over time. This is the first move that comes to mind because you already kind of know that queen h5 is not going to be good enough. If this is a dark square bishop, it might be different. But with a white square bishop, forget about it. So which one was this one? This dude. Oh yeah, killer problem. Like I said, now this was knight c2 was one of my first moves I looked at. But we've already, then I had to realize I had to go back. And indirectly, you'd kind of call that knight c2 would have been, or knight a2. This is a piece contact move. Okay, we're moving this piece. I call it piece contact because you're going to be attacking some other piece, or in some cases, you're attacking another square, or you're occupying a square in this case, which we didn't want to occupy this one. He was supposed to play rook takes knight because he's already a piece up. He can afford to crush the attack by sacrificing material. When you're a piece ahead, you sacrifice the exchange to crush the attack all the time. So that was my first move, was knight c2. And then I switched the knight to a2 to get the queen attack because, again, his rook is on an island. So he plays there, and I go, well, but I'm going to take my desperado knight takes queen. He goes rook takes queen. I just go pawn takes rook. And you can't take my knight because I realize I'm opening up the defense pile. So it's kind of that's a sneaky resource for black. Let's look at this guy again. So this one, yeah, this was the mating attack. So this is what is known as a board situation game. We have a mating attack. Apparently, we're up a pawn. We're up a pawn, not a piece. Sorry, I made a mistake earlier. So we're up a pawn, but yeah, one of the things that I mentioned, and I haven't mentioned it recently in videos, but for new guys, I guess I should mention it, is that the best way to do these is to do these problems as much mentally as possible. Like I told you, it was bishop checks, king takes knight is forced, queen g6 check, king e7 was forced, and my original move was rook e6 check, but that was the brute force technique. I'm brute forcing it to find out where he goes, and that's king to d8. And so once the brute force of rook takes e6 is that it forced him to go to d8, and then I realized, well, when I play rook takes e6 check, I can just play queen takes e6. I can swap those moves out. And so the brute force technique shows me the way. So let me show you this position. So he goes here. It'll be a lot easier for you to visualize. Now, obviously, I can't play rook takes e6 on this board here, but if I play rook takes e6, you see that the only move is legally king d8. And it's like, well, I can't check him with my queen, but if my queen took on e6, then I would be able to check in its mate. So the rook takes e6, king d8. This is what I call the brute force technique. Just throw the stuff at him as much as possible and see where he's forcing him. Forces him to d8, and then I was like, okay. You back this out. Yeah, queen takes e6. This solves the problem. Uses a technique for solving problems or finding moves in your games. The brute force technique is one. There's another one called the what if technique. What if I put this piece on this square? Sort of I did that with the, actually I did that technique without recognizing it or mentioning it to you. So let me show it to you again. The what if technique is, well, what if I played knight to c2? And my experience told me that instantly rook takes c2. His rook is trapped. So he's going to have to, do that. So it was like, what if I go to c2? That's the question you have to ask yourself when you're doing these things. When you're doing a problem or playing in a game, it's like, well, I could play knight to c2. Is that a good move? What if I go there? Well, then it doesn't take very long for a good player to go, well, you know what? That rook is toast, so rook takes knight. And then we look at it, and he'd have 2 pieces for the rook and crush the attack. That's a good deal. No question. So that was the what if technique. What if I play here? Well, and then I go, okay, that's no good. Well, what if I attack his queen? See how it works? What if? What if I attack his queen? Because his queen, again, was the only piece guarding this rook. And then he, and it goes through the thing, well, what if I go knight to a2? Well, I go, he's going to attack my queen, which I knew he was going to do. I go, I'm just going to take your queen. When I capture the rook, I'm not just winning the exchange. I'm literally winning a whole rook. So that's the what if technique. And the other one, I got to throw this in here for newer players, that my dad's lesson is, his idea was, what is this guy trying to do to me? So that is, what is he trying to do to me? Now, some of them, it's obvious. These problems did not have one of those situations, but my dad's philosophy was, if you can figure out what this guy is trying to do to you, then you have a leg up on what to do to prevent him from doing it if possible. I mean, clearly this one, he's just trying to not get checkmated. Okay, so it's not really applicable here, but in some of those problems where the opponent has an attack brewing against you, you have to figure out your way through, away from his attack to survive. So I'm just throwing this idea in your games. My dad's lesson is the most important lesson, and that is, what is this guy trying to do to me? He plays h6, for example. You're like, well, maybe he wants to stop me from moving a knight or a bishop to g5. Okay, that's reasonable. Sometimes that's the answer. Sometimes it isn't. And that's the difficulty. So what you see in my videos, all these moves that I play, these come indirectly from literally, and I'm not making this number up, thousands of games that my father and I played in the 70s. My dad would be like, there was nothing on, TV that he wanted to watch or whatever. He's like, hey, let's play some chess. When my dad says that, hey, let's play some chess, he's like, hey, let's play 10 to 20 games. And I'm not joking. Sometimes it would be that many. It was just really funny. Because, it's the 70s. There's nothing to do. You're not going to a movie or watching TV or whatever. My dad never listened to the radio as a activity. So I was like, I guess after whatever, if there was no TV shows on that he wanted to watch that he liked or whatever, but my dad liked to play chess a lot. So it's just one of those things that, my dad was a almost 1600 player. And so he spent most of his tournament life, he built himself up, 1500, and he would float around low 1500s is where he floated around. He got maybe to 1580 or 1590. He got close. He got within striking distance of 1600, but just never got there. He enjoyed chess more than anybody that I knew or have ever known. And really, in the 1500 range is when you kind of have the most fun, because you still have the mystery of chess on one hand, and you have enough skills at 1500 to cash in some games. And so he beat some, 18 and 1900 players. because, you know, you catch the right situation, you know, you're playing an opening that you know, or a position that you've played before, you can play 200 to 400 points stronger than your rating. Maybe more if it's, you know, something you really know somehow. So that's how, you know, my dad, a 1500, you know, basic player, 1500 plus, he was there for a long time. He was like, hey, I'm going to show you this game. He beat this 1900 guy. I'm like, he has no business beating a 1900 player, guy 400 points above him. But he did it because just, you know, that happens. You get things where you're familiar and the guy wasn't familiar. And so he's 1900 playing like 1600 maybe, and my dad's 1500 playing like he's almost 2000. So it's kind of like their ratings were flipped based on the game situation that occurred. So that's the thing. Hopefully this stuff helps you, you know, gives you a position of reference that you can do stuff, but you have to do some preparation. There's work to be done, and there's fun to be had. Okay, so it's not all fun, and it's not all work. If you go for too much of one or the other, you're not gonna. If it's too much work, it's boring. If you're playing too much for fun, you're not gonna get any better. So, you know, you got to kind of balance the two, like everything. All right. So, hopefully you enjoyed these 3 terrific problems. Obviously, hopefully the explanations helped you understand what's going on. Like the video, of course. Comment. Let me know what you think about it. Especially those story about my dad and those crazy games we played in the 70s. Subscribe to get more gold. Dude, I'm out. You guys take it easy.